My entitled mom gave me up for $2,500. I'm now 20 years old, and this happened when I was 16 or 17 years old. So, here's the backstory. My mom and dad split up when I was roughly 9 to 10 years old due to my mother cheating on my father when he was out of the country. He's a pilot. At the time, it was me and my two older sisters, one of which was already an adult, so my other sister and I were left under my mother's custody due to my father always flying and not wanting us to go through moving all the time. As far as the details go, my dad not only paid my mom child support, but also paid off the house. Despite having little money to take care of himself, he paid my mom more than what he owed. Yet, my sister and I never saw that money. After the divorce, my mom turned to many things. Sleeping around, gambling, drinking, and eventually meth, though that didn't last long due to my dad finding out and threatening to take us away. My sister practically became my mother, since ours decided to step down from the plate, and I was too young to take care of myself. When my sister left for college, all of the emotional abuse she took ended up falling on me, which sent me into a loop. Due to my sister taking all the damage, I typically saw my mother as, well, my mother. My young brain didn't notice how often she didn't come home at night, or the lack of food in the house, or the constant weeks I'd wear one outfit, since I didn't have other clothes that fit. I didn't notice how not normal this is. Heading into high school, it became more and more obvious this wasn't right at all, yet I still loved my mother. We bantered and ate fast food together, and she was proud of my accomplishments. But she had her moments, dropping huge hints that I'm too boyish like my dad, refusing to let me cut my hair, pressuring me into wearing makeup, heels, dresses, convincing me I don't need therapy as my therapist at the time made me uncomfortable. It's one of those Christian therapists that make everything about God. While I am Christian, it didn't help the conversation, and so on. Meanwhile, my dad met a woman and they fell in love. When she became pregnant with his kid, he moved her to America after my little sister was born and started a new family. I love my stepmom. She's literally the sweetest woman I know. And I adore my baby sister, and eventually my second baby sister. Over time, after spending many nights in their home, I came to realize how much happier I was at their house over my mother's. One day I told my dad I want to officially live with him. At this point, I've noticed how depressed I am and how things aren't normal in my mom's house. When I told my mother this, she was deeply upset and cried, but she understood, or so I thought. That's when everything went downhill. The text messages started. Sly guilt trips and remarks on how someone else convinced me to move out, that my father convinced me she was the bad guy. The more these texts happened, the warier I became on talking to her. It got to the point where I would cry after every conversation because I was so confused and lost. One day she practically trapped me in her car in my best friend's driveway to tell me how my reasons for leaving her were total crap and that I clearly don't remember what it was like in that house. Cue my memory issues. But enough about that. Let's get to the good part. The custody case. Due to me being the last child between my mother and father, my dad no longer had to pay child support. They go to court about this, except my mom didn't show up for many, many hearings. When she did, she had this bullshit story about how my dad owed her a shitload of money because he never paid the full child support, how she felt pressured to believe him and trust him when he said he knew how much he owed her. He did. He calculated it himself and paid more than what was needed. So if you're catching on, this fight was about money. Here's a fun little thing. My mom texted me maybe a month before this case and started about how she desperately wanted me to come home. How she will do anything to get her baby back. That aged well, didn't it? Because one day my mom stated that if my dad pays her $2,500, she will give up full custody of me. My dad agreed to it, and it was over. She gave up her custody rights for $2,500. It still stings. I'm still bitter and angry to this day about it. And this case happened years ago. I don't think my mom is aware I know the details of this case, as she very rarely reaches out to me as if we still have a relationship to tell me how much she loves me and misses me. The thing is, I learned that my mom despised me after the divorce because I remind her of my dad. We have the same eyes and resting face. My mom just loves being the victim and even tried to convince my sister she doesn't remember doing all the stuff she did to us. She even blamed my dad for her cheating on him and said so to my face. I haven't had a real conversation with her since Christmas, over the phone, of course, and haven't seen her in person since maybe before the pandemic. She texted me recently, all excited about a gift she got for my sister's unborn baby, and it sent a whole new wave of resentment towards her. I stopped trying long ago to have a relationship with her, as she doesn't try in return and will continue to do so until she admits her wrongs, apologizes, and tries to be a mother for once in her life. Until then, my only mother is my lovely stepmom. Our eldest sister isn't biologically my father's. My mother had her before she met my father, but he raised my eldest sister as his own. My younger sisters are my father's and stepmom's kids, so they luckily never had to deal with my mom. My eldest sister completely cut her off last I checked, but my other sister still keeps in touch with her from time to time, basically about major life events like her pregnancy. The unfortunate thing about our trauma is that it was emotional. My sister still wants her love and approval deep down, but is also very aware of our mother's actions and keeps her in check. Her husband is also the backbone with this, as he despises our mother more than I do. My mom seems to love grandkids more than us, and I know this as our eldest sister has 2 daughters who got way more attention than I did from our mom. Besides, we all know that she is never going to be allowed alone with my niece or nephew. My mom refuses to go to therapy, but my dad and I suspect she is bipolar. I ended up seeking therapy myself at one point. I showed signs of being bipolar as well, but I thankfully wasn't. OP, your mother is a classic narcissist. Your mother treated you very horribly, and no child should have to go through what you went through. How can someone do that to their kid? I'm glad you're out of that household, OP. And it's wonderful that you had such a loving father. He made sure you were protected and safe and cared for. Your father knew he had to get you out of your mother's clutches, even if the means were unconventional. Your mother asking for $2,500 to give up her custody? Definition of the trash taking itself out. OP, I hope you now have the loving family you deserve with all your siblings and a lovely stepmom. Our next Reddit post is from I Totally Paused. My partner's mom told him that he's dead to her, then follows up and asks him for money. My partner's mom lives in a different city than we do and is pretty reliant on her kids. My partner and one of his 3 sisters. The other sisters don't want much to do with her to keep herself afloat financially. It's important to note that she has a serious gambling addiction. Because of this, she tends to blow through the money my partner and his sister send her in a matter of days before immediately asking for more. She also loses her phone all the time. She simply doesn't understand the concept of being cautious and frugal with money and valuables. The event that set off an alarm, however, was her winning $27,000 at a casino before all the money was mysteriously gone in less than 2 weeks. He had also sent her over $1,000 in wire transfers over the last year, which she also wasted. From this point, my partner decided to start holding her more accountable for her irresponsibility and sent her a chime card, which he, and only he, can put money into and out of. He even warned her up front that if he saw that she took money out of the card at an ATM, he would know that she was wasting it on gambling and that he would pull the plug on it. She did not like this at all. After he made this clear to her, she called him a few hours later and left the following voicemail. Keep the money that you were going to send me because you and your sister are dead to me from this day on. Stay out of my life forever. We directly sent this voicemail to my partner's sister to let her know what their mom said about them. She was angry that he wouldn't feed her gambling addiction anymore. Harsh, but fine. This isn't the first time she's done this. This was last week. Cut to this morning, my partner sees he has 2 missed calls from his mom, followed by a text asking, "Where did you send my money to?" Well, my partner called her back and asked her, "Why do you expect me to send you money when you said I was dead to you?" Her response, "You've always been dead to me." Then, my partner hung up on her after that. She called back a couple more times about the money, which my partner wasn't going to give her. She even told him to be a man and pay her. He even called her back and played the voicemail she left on the phone, after which his mom again hung up. Just imagine having the absolute audacity to tell your son, "You're dead to me," only to do a complete 180 and ask for money after that. No apology about what was said, just a request for more money. That she doesn't work for, and doubling down on what was said before, yet still expected him to feed her addiction. Mom of the Year goes to my partner's mom. She's currently requesting money from him on Cash App. He decided to be petty and send her only $1 to shut her up. He's putting his foot down toward her. She tried to call back again last night. My partner chewed her out and told her, "You need to recognize that things you say can hurt people and have heavy consequences," before hanging up and blocking her. I'm proud of him for telling her that. It's just so sad to watch because I know he loves his mom, but he also isn't going to tolerate her behavior. He flew her out here to come visit only a couple of months ago and we had a great time. And now this. It's not going to stop him from doing what's best for himself, but it doesn't change how unfortunate the whole thing is. We've already made it very clear to her that we're not gonna play her little game. We even went so far as to remind her that we have no problem with putting her into an elderly care home, since she clearly can't be trusted to make decisions on her own and has been on a cognitive decline for a while now. She stopped talking crap real quick after that. We respectfully then told her that we will not be engaging with her any longer until she shows her children some respect. We've already drawn the line. She's also already missed out on a grandchild. My partner's other sister doesn't speak to her mom for the same reasons and has a very sweet son who loves his uncle, my partner, yet hasn't met his grandma once. It's very unfortunate. Someone in the comments tells OP that her partner needs to stop enabling his mom's gambling behavior by saying, "He sent her over $1,000 in wire transfers last year. He's made a habit of sending her the money. She's just waiting for him to change his mind and send it this time too." OP replies to this by saying, "Based on the way he's handling it, he's doing no such thing. Habit? He was being a nice son and helping his mom when she was supposedly in need. Whenever he refused due to catching her in a lie, or because he didn't have the money, she would go to his sister, who would often refuse as well. However, it's now clear that it was all a scheme to get gambling money. He stopped sending her transfers once he caught wind of this, and she's been growing more aggressive whenever he's inquisitive of where the money went. He would often call out inconsistencies in her stories and thus catch her in her lies. Thus, the chime card that he informed her he will closely monitor is what first set her off, not the outright refusal today. He's not going to cave and already firmly told her that she's a grown woman and is perfectly capable of figuring things out on her own. Whoo boy, OP. Not only does his mom have a gambling addiction, but she's also got a bad entitlement complex. Your partner needs to block his mom and stop any financial aid that just enables her to gamble. Getting no money from him may force her to start to confront her problems. Tell her not to contact you until she's got her 1-year chip from Gamblers Anonymous or whatever the equivalent is. I would also suggest going no contact as you can't communicate with dead people, and dead people do no favors. Let me know down below what you would do if you were in this situation. I'm 2 days post-surgery and my mom decides to have a surprise get-together at my place. I'm 30 years old, and my mom tried to play it off like it would be good for my recovery to see some family. However, I haven't seen this side of the family for years. Then I find out that she just didn't want to host them at her place, but she thought it would be a good idea for me to host while I'm supposed to be on bed rest for at least a week. I don't know if my extended family knew of my procedure since I don't keep up with them, but my mother knows, and that's enough for me. I haven't set up enough boundaries because they still feel like it's their right to just randomly show up. Maybe after me blowing up on on them today, they'll get it. According to them, I'm the jerk for not being a good enough host to a surprise visit that I was not expecting. I live 5 minutes from my mother, but we live in different buildings, different apartments. She had guests, and these guests are an extended family from out of state. However, because she didn't have the space to entertain and host them, they all show up at my door. I opened the door because I feared if I didn't open, then they would at most call the cops and ambulance, and she would escalate the situation for no reason. This is the last straw, and will ruin my relationship with my mother and family. So disrespectful. I have to be dead for them to respect my boundaries. Not to mention that this is all out of the blue with her knowing I'm recovering. For now, I'm blocking my mother because she knew of my condition and proceeded with her stupid idea. It's a big step for me. In an ideal world, she wouldn't be so unreasonable and unbearable, but at the moment she is. Getting them to realize how intrusive they are is a lost cause. OP replies to a lot of comments, and after reading them all, it seems to appear that OP grew up in an abusive household where you have to obey and be there for your family or else. The narcissism and entitlement in this story is ridiculous. An ideal mother would look after and care for her kid who just had surgery 2 days ago, not throw a surprise party and invite guests over. That was r/entitled parents, and if you like this video, click the video on your screen to watch another video. I'll see you guys there.